Welcome to another AlertFind training session. In today's session, we will be looking at different modules in the user interface, specifically the one that's called Composed Advanced, where you can create a communication from zero, and the second one is the Send Notifications section, which is where you can review the results of the communications that you have already sent out. Let's begin with the Composed Advanced module. Composed Advanced is found on the top left corner under the Launch Center. When clicking on Composed Advanced, a new window will show up where you can begin to create your communication from zero. In this new window, you have to populate the to field, subject line, and content area. Exactly like you would when you are creating an email. Where AlertFind differs is that it is a two-way communication stream, and therefore you are able to create different responses in the bottom right corner here that you want to receive back from your users or colleagues when the communication is sent out. Now let's take a look at each of these sections one by one. Let's begin with the to field. In order to add a recipient to the to field, you would click on Select Recipient. When you do this, a new window will appear. In this section, you have an option of choosing from individual users, broadcast groups that you have created, escalation groups, smart groups, or the map geo selector to choose the individuals that you want to target this communication to. You can use any of these options to choose the individuals that will receive the communication that you are going to be sending out. To add an individual user, you would search for the user using the search bar and type in their name. In this case, I'm going to choose myself. Once you have found the user that you would like to add, you would click on the plus sign to the right of their name to add them as a recipient. As you can see, my name has now appeared as a recipient in the recipient section to the right of the screen. You can also add a broadcast group in exactly the same way in which you would an individual user, with the only difference being that you would have to click on the broadcast group tab found here. Now you would search for the broadcast group that you have created previously and you would like to add to it. In this case, I'll select the broadcast group Call All, which is basically a broadcast group of the entire organization. I'll be sending it out to everybody in this particular environment. Here is the broadcast group Call All, and I would click on the plus sign to the right of the name. The broadcast group has been added as a recipient. In regards to escalation groups, when you have already created one, you would be able to select it and add it as a recipient in the exact same way as we did for the broadcast group, as well as for smart groups. You would choose the escalation group section here and search for the escalation distribution list that you have created, added by clicking on the little plus sign. Same for the smart groups section here. The geofence tool is a different story. Geofencing is an AlertFind functionality that works with a geolocator to populate the recipients based on a certain area that you select. There are two ways in which AlertFind can know exactly where a user is. Either the longitude and latitude information is provided through the import process, or if users download the AlertFind app to their smartphone. Users will find a section called Location Chicken. When they click on it, AlertFind will ask them if they will provide access to their GPS coordinates. If the user says yes, then AlertFind will capture the exact location of the users. As an example, let's say that a hurricane is going to affect Houston, and I'm going to be sending out this communication to all of the users that are located in that area. I will search for Houston in the search bar. And choose the correct location from the available list. I would then select the draw option here and begin to delimitate the area that will be affected by the hurricane. The system will search for the users that are currently within that area and will proceed to add them to the recipients list for this communication. Once you have the area selected, you would click on Add Polygon and it will be added over to the recipients list on the right. As you can see, now I have this section here that is all of the users that are contained within the area that I selected. If you want to know which users were identified as being in the selected area, all you have to do is double click in the name of the polygon under the recipients list and you would have the user names displayed under the group membership. Since none of the users in our distribution list are within the Houston area, then as you can see, no users were found. As a recap, you can choose your recipients from individual users, broadcast groups, smart groups, escalation groups, or use the geolocator to choose the users that will receive a communication. Once you have populated the recipients, you can click on Save. And then you will be directed to the previous page to continue setting your notification parameters. Now let's take a look at the subject line. The subject line can either be copy-pasted from a document that you have previously created, or you can type it in. For this training purpose, I'll type in training test. There are different ways in which you can populate the message section found here. The first way is by clicking on Call to Record, which is found right here. In case you want to record the message instead of typing it in, a new window will pop up. You would provide a phone number here. Select whether the phone number is international or US, and then click on Call Now. The system would automatically call to the telephone number you provided and you would be able to dictate your communication. Then the system would append the audio file to the communication as your content. If you have an audio file recorded, you can upload the audio file by clicking Upload Audio. And the system would then append your content to the communication. The other way is to manually type in or copy paste from a pre-existing document into the message area. In this case, we're going to copy paste. This is not a real emergency. This is just for training purposes. Let's say there's going to be a hurricane in Houston, and we want to make sure that all of the users know that the hurricane will be touching land soon and they should take precautions. We would say something like, note, Hurricane Michael is due to land in your area. Please take precautions and follow your local authorities' advice, like this. You can mark up the existing content to make it more eye-catching by bolding certain sections, changing the color of the fonts, changing the font family, creating italics, or underlining. You can also highlight the background color of a certain section, or either left justify, center, or right justify, as well as create a link in this section here. AlertFind provides these different features that you can use within the message section. So for instance, if you want to provide some additional information on this particular hurricane, we could add a hyperlink redirecting to the weather channel. We are going to type click here, for instance, and then we would highlight it. And we would click on the insert link here. You are asked for URL. Once you have added the correct URL to the Weather Channel, you would click on Insert Link here. In this way, you would be providing additional information directly to your users in your content. Users would be able to get news updates in their laptops or cell phones immediately through your communication. You can also create a bulleted or numbered list. Now let's take a look at the responses section located to the right over here. AlertFind gives you the possibility of creating predefined responses according to the information that you would like to receive from the users you have sent the communication to. Therefore, they can provide a response by just clicking a key or a number. The system has predefined templates if your message is an announcement, a conference call, a poll or survey, or a first responder. But you can create your own as well as customize the one that appears by default. In this case, since we are sending an announcement, there's a hurricane and you need to take precautions, then the response number 1, I confirm that I received this message, is adequate enough for those purposes. However, let's look at a different scenario. Let's say that the hurricane has already passed and you're going to be sending out a follow-up communication to your users asking if they are okay. In order to create this follow-up response, you need to click on Add here. And a new window will pop up showing the response editor. Since we are asking a specific question, are you okay? The first response that would come that we could configure would be I am fine. In the abbreviation section, please use an abbreviation that makes sense to you, since this is what you will see as part of the response report that you will have access to. In this case, since the amount of characters is rather small, I will use I am fine. Once you have put in the response text and the abbreviation, you can click on Save. A second possible response that you might configure is by clicking on the Add button again is I am fine, but I need some time off before I can return to work. In the abbreviation, we can say need time off. As you can see, once you have passed the parameters of the amount of characters that are allowed for the abbreviation, you will get a notice letting you know that you need to reduce the amount of characters. Therefore, we'll put need time. If you receive a communication from one of your colleagues that says, I am fine, but I need time off before I can return to work, most likely your next question would be, how many days off or how much time do you need before you can return to the office? AlertFind will allow you to ask a secondary question by activating the Allow Response Data section here. As soon as the user chooses to respond with, I need time off, the system will automatically ask them this secondary question. How many days off do you need? And then the user would be able to input the amount of time via cell phone or email. Once you have added those parameters, you would click on Save. Another possible response could be, no, I need assistance. We would add a new one and populate that in the response text. In this case, I would put need assistance, need help in the abbreviation. As soon as you receive a response through the live reporting screen, you would be able to contact 911 to alert authorities that a colleague named John Doe with phone number X located at Y has reported that they need immediate assistance. You can then proactively help your colleagues based on the responses that you get back from them. Now let's create another scenario. Let's say that your email server has been hacked and you need to make sure that you get on a conference call with all of your IT team members to discuss the issue and mitigate any damage caused by the hack. The to field needs to be populated with your IT team. The subject line would be server has been hacked. And the message would be something like, our server has been hacked. Need to have a conference call right now. In the responses, we would expect two types of responses. The first response that we can configure is, yes, I can attend the conference call. And the second is, no, I cannot attend the conference call. In this case, we would locate the template section to the right, to the right of the response section, and click on conference call. It will automatically populate those two responses that we could possibly get. Now let's take a look at the one that says, I received the message and will join the conference call. We can highlight it and then click on edit. And you would be able to modify the response text if you wish, or the abbreviation. In this case, instead of attend, I will put can attend, like that. Now, we would want, the next step that we would want to do is to go ahead and populate the information to open up the conferencing bridge. The system will then require you to provide the conferencing bridge phone number by activating it here. You would put in the phone number, whether it's US, Canada, or other, the meeting ID, and any additional keystrokes that are required to get to the actual conference. For instance, WebEx will always ask you to input your meeting ID and then the pound key. Since the pound key is a keystroke that you need to provide after the meeting ID, you would add the pound key as a suffix. Anything that comes before the meeting ID would be a prefix. Here you would input the prefix, here you would input the suffix. Unfortunately, the system will not allow me to save a response where the conferencing bridge is turned on without the minimum information, which is the phone number and the meeting ID. Therefore, I will turn this feature off. However, this is something that you can obviously test out in your system as soon as you have that conferencing information. You can have as many responses as you want or as you need, since there is no limit to the amount of responses you can save. You can save up an alert for each scenario depending on the communications that you're sending out and the possible responses that make sense to you and what information you would like to get back from your users. Let's say that I want to change the order of these around. All you would have to do is to choose the one that you want to move and then use the little arrows here to make them go up or down in this way. So for instance, if I want to make sure that the second one, I received the message but cannot attend the conference call, is the first response that the user would see, I would click on the up arrow to make sure that it is the first one. The responses will be displayed in exactly the same order that you have them preset in the response section here. One thing that I would like to highlight is that AlertFind does not have a recall button or a recall message. Therefore, before you click on send, you need to verify that all the information that you have pre-populated in your communication has been set up correctly. Since once you click send, the communication will be sent out and there is no way for you to recall it back. That being said, let's take a look at the other options that you'll have available in the Compose notification screen. You can add an attachment to any communication that you send out. However, by clicking on the attachment section here. However, you need to consider two aspects of adding an attachment. In an emergency situation, you want your communications to be as light as possible. And by light, I mean the weight in kilobytes, so that the communication goes out as quickly from our servers as possible and reaches your users' devices as quickly as possible. If you add a heavy video, audio, or document, the communication will get heavier and it will take a lot more time to reach the different devices that you are targeting. Or if your users are paying for a data plan in their smartphones and the communication is extremely heavy, it might add an additional cost. Therefore, adding an attachment is something that you can do, but take into consideration the points I've just mentioned. Another approach that you can take in regards to attachment is to add them as a link within the content, and therefore your users can then use that to look at the additional information that you are providing. To add an attachment, you need to click on the attachment button, and the attachment editor will open where you can choose if you want to include a link to the attachment or if you want to include a copy of the actual file. After you select either of these two, you click on the Add button. Browse and select the attachment you want to add once it's uploaded, click on the Save. When you click on Add, a new window opens up where you can search for the file that you want to add as an attachment on your computer. Once you've saved it, you would click on Save. Escalation override. Another thing that you can do when creating a communication is to preset your escalation override. It is basically the way in which you want to communicate with your users, which devices you wish to target, and in what order you would like to target them. We have preset default escalation overrides at an account level within the application settings, and you can absolutely use those. As you can see, by clicking on the escalation override button, it will automatically be set to do not override personal device escalations, which basically means that you're going to be using the default settings that we have added for you in the application settings for your account, or the ones that have been preset by each individual user. If you wish to create a specific device escalation for this particular communication, then you would click on Specify a custom device escalation. And as soon as you do that, the window will expand, showing all the different devices that we have enabled for you based on your roster import file. In this case, we have personal email, work email, cell phone, text. We have also enabled the different personal smartphone, personal tablet, work smartphone, and work tablet so that you are able to download the app and send a communication to the app that has been preset in your users' smartphones. To choose which device you wish to send this communication to, you can either double-click into the name of the device or highlight them one at a time and then click on Add Selected. In this case, let's say that we wish to send it to personal email and to cell phone. If you add duplicate devices and you need to delete them from the list, you will need to select the one you wish to delete and click on the Remove button. Another feature is to add delays in between different devices. To add a delay, select the button that says After 5 minutes on the left section here where you have the devices, and either double-click into it or click on Add Selected. In this case, the system would send out the email notification to the personal email address. If the user does not reply from their personal email address after 5 minutes, it would proceed to send the communication to the cell phone. If the user does not reply within the next 5 minutes, it would then send the notification to the SMS text phone. The actual amount of time that the system will wait in between executing the notification to different devices can be modified, and you can have as little as 1 minute or as much time as you would like to have. To modify a delay, highlight the time delay you want to modify and click on the Edit button. And a new window pops up where you will be able to modify the amount of minutes that you wish to wait. Once you have changed the minutes to the correct one, you would click on Save. If you remove all the delays, the system would send the communication to all of the devices at the exact same time. This is the way that you can choose which devices you want to target and in which order you wish to target them. Once you have the devices that you wish to target and the delays selected, you can restructure them by dragging and dropping them into the correct position by using the up and down arrows to the right of each device selected. So for instance, if I want the text to be sent before the cell phone, I would highlight the SMS phone, click on the up arrow key, then highlight the cell phone and click on the down arrow key. And there we have it. Now I need to click on Save. In case you want to do some modification to the escalation override, you can click again over escalation override where you will be able to do further changes. Once you're sure that you have the correct information, do click on Save again. And now you've set the escalation override. So far, we've looked at how to populate the to field, the subject line, the message, responses, and escalation override. Now let's take a look at the advanced options that are available for you in the Advanced tab. We have the ability to schedule a notification to go out at a later date by choosing a time and date. We can also add a recurrence, whether you want this communication to be sent out hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, or annually. It's totally up to you and your specific needs. Another option is the email status. Email status means that the system will create a report with the results of this communication and send it out to the emails that you have identified in this section. The default will always say, "Do not send results." The next option is to send the report to the sender's default email address. If you choose this option, only the user that executes the notification will receive the report. The third option is the email to. You would choose this option if you want to send the report to a different email or you want to send the report to a list of emails. Insert the list of emails in addresses or list of emails that will receive the report separated by a semicolon, and the system will generate the report and send it out to that list. Another setting to consider is the amount of time that you would like to allow from when you click on send to when the system generates the report for you. If you leave it at 00, basically you would click on send and immediately the system would generate the report, providing no results since you have not allowed your users time to respond to the communications through the different devices that you have targeted. In this case, the minimum amount that the system will allow is 11 minutes. Now let's take a look at the priorities. The options that are available go from test priority, which is the one I'm going to choose for this particular one, to critical priority. When you click on critical priority, you will notice that you have from critical lowest to critical highest to choose from. I will choose the test, since this is a test. You can also activate the required pin feature. As you can see, once you click on it, it turns to a dark blue. Once you activate this, your users will not be able to listen to the communication until they authenticate themselves by providing a PIN. If you are going to enable this level of security, you will need to make sure that each of your individual users know the PIN that they should input. The PIN number will have to be provided whether you have a company-wide PIN number or if you have an individual PIN number for each user. Next section is the hotline. Every instance of AlertFind comes with a hotline number that is preset for you, and it's always available for your users to be able to call in. However, based on your company's needs, you would purchase additional hotline numbers if required. If you purchase additional hotline numbers and you want your users to be able to use any of the hotline numbers to reply back, you would click on Use All Hotlines. And if you do not want your users to be able to reply back to the communication using any of the hotlines, then you would click on Do Not Allow Responses through the hotline. The last option is the device retry. It refers to how many times you want the system to call a phone number if it is busy. For instance, if you call a cell phone number and the number is busy, how many times do you want the system to call you back before it goes to voicemail? The default setting will always be 5, but you can choose from 0 to 10. The amount of time that it will wait between one retry and the other is 5 minutes. Now that we have gone over the entire section on how to create a communication, please remember that you should verify that your to field, your subject line, and your message content, as well as your responses, have all been correctly configured or preset. If you need to make any modifications, please do so now, because once you click on send, the communication will begin to go out and there is no recall button to stop the communication from executing. There is an option to cancel. However, if the system has already sent the communication to some of the users, there'll be no way to recall that back. Let's proceed to execute the test that we have configured by clicking on send. As soon as you do this, you get a new pop-up window, which is the notification summary. From this new window, you can review the status and results live as they come in from the different users that you have sent the communication to. As you can see, right now the status of the communication is set to scheduled. The result window is live and it does refresh on its own every couple of seconds. However, you do have a manual refresh button found here, and another one that you can use over here as well. Let's say that you have sent the communication out and you need to do some other work. Half hour has passed, and when you return, you want to see exactly what the results are. You would log into the UI, and under the notifications tab here, you would click on Set Notifications. As soon as you click on it, you will get a list of all the notifications that you have been sent out. You can then choose the one that you want to see the results for and double click into the actual results. You would immediately get back to the same results screen that you were before. You can see that the communication has been sent out to one recipient. Let's take a look at the different aspects you can review within the results window. Time Summary. In the Time Summary tab, you are provided with a glimpse of how long it took the communication to be sent out. When you're sending a communication out to a large number of users, you will have different scales that would start from 0 to 5 minutes, from 5 to 10, etc. And it will let you know exactly how many users received the communication within that specific time frame. Next section is the All Recipients. This section provides you with a list of users that received the communication. And in the right-hand section, you will be able to see a log of exactly what happened with each of the different devices that you targeted per user. For example, scheduled time and the time the notification was sent out and received by each device. We can go down the list and take a look at all the different device logs that were targeted for each individual user and see exactly what happened with each one of them. The next section is the original recipients. Here, you will be able to see the full list of users that we sent the notification to. For this test, I sent it just to an individual, myself. If you were sending out to a broadcast group and you wanted to see the actual membership of the broadcast group, you would double-click into the name of the broadcast group here and click into the group membership section to see the individual user's name that received the communication. Now let's go back to the results by response. As you can see, I have not replied back to the response yet. Therefore, I am marked as no response yet. If I want to take a look at the individual results to see exactly what happened with each one of them, I click on View Details to the left of the type of response that I want to see. In this case, let's say that I want to see who has not responded. I would click on View Details to the left of Not Response Yet. As you can see, a new window pops up showing me who has not responded, and I can also see on the right a summary of the log of everything that happened with each one of the different devices that I targeted for that specific user. Now let's say that you wish to send a follow-up email to the users who have not responded. You would click on Send to Non-Responders, found here on the top section of the user interface. A new window pops up that is completely populated with the information that we originally sent out. And in the To field, you only have the people that have not responded yet, in this case, myself. You can now proceed to modify the communication message by saying, for instance, something like, "You have not responded to this communication. It is really important that you do so. Please do so now." And then you would click on Send. And the communication will be sent out a second time. If you wish to send up a follow-up email to the same recipients, you would click on Follow Up, found here. It basically opens up a new communication. It is populated with the exact same To field, and then you would proceed to populate the subject line, content, responses, and any other advanced option that you need in the same way as previously explained in this training session, and then click on Send. Another option that is available to you is to clone a communication. The clone button can be found here. Let's say that you want to send out this exact communication to a different group of users. You would go to the clone section, click on the clone button, and the communication will be completely cloned out. You can modify the recipients list by changing the users in the To field here, and then click on Send. And now you have sent the communication with the same message, same responses, same escalation override, and subject line to a new group of people. Let's say that this particular communication that you have created and sent out is one that you believe that you are going to be sending out constantly. If this is the case, you can create a template based on this communication. To create a template based on this communication, you would click on Save as a Notification Template, and a new window pops up, which is basically the one used to create the notification. And here you can choose a title for your template. You can also select a color that matches your company's color scheme by clicking on the icon section here, as well as select the icon that you would like to use. Please note that you would not be able to import your own icons or change the colors that are available to you in this section. Another thing that you should know is that if you are going to execute templates using the hotline, it's really important that you click on Send All Notifications here and make sure that the little box is checked. You would also need to provide a quick launch ID, because when you log into the hotline, you will be prompted to provide the quick launch ID in order to send the communication out. You can either create the quick launch ID yourself by inputting such as 01, for instance, or you can have the system auto-generate an ID for you by clicking on Generate. Now, once the system has auto-generated the ID, it will populate the quick launch ID for you. As you can see, every section has been pre-populated based on the communication that you already sent out. Therefore, creating a template from a sent notification is a really fast and easy process. Now, all we have to do is click on Save and Close, and your communication template has been created. If you want to see the communication template, you will come over to the Manage Library section on the left menu bar, and you will be able to see the template there as well as the templates you have previously created. If you want to see how you would execute it from either the app or the user instance, you would come over to the Alert console, and once it populates, you would have the icon of all of the different templates that you have created, and you can use any of those to execute them. We will be looking at managing and creating templates in more depth in training session number 2. That is basically what we have for you today. You have learned how to create a communication from zero using the Compose Advanced section, as well as how to take a look at the different results in the Send Notifications section. If you have any questions regarding any of the topics discussed in this video, please contact your assigned Customer Success Manager, and they will be able to help you with any further information that you might need regarding the topics that we have discussed today. Thank you very much for listening to this video, and we will see you on our next training session. Have a great day.